Have you ever looked at your pet and wished you could just understand what they're thinking? Like really get inside their heads?
Oh, all the time. Especially with my cat. Sometimes I swear he's judging me.
Right. Well, today we're going to dive into a blog post that tackles this very idea. It's called If Only I Could Speak Cat Language.
Catchy title.
It is. And it's by a Taiwanese blogger named Citta, who just gets it.
Yeah.
She's not just talking about training animals, but really, truly connecting with them.
I'm intrigued already.
So Citta starts off by talking about Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts. You know, how he just seems to understand those magical creatures.
Oh yeah, he's got that special connection, doesn't he? It's not about bossing them around, but like meeting them on their level.
Exactly. And Citta contrasts that with how we often try to communicate with our pets. It's mostly commands and rewards. Sit, stay, good boy, here's a treat.
Yeah, a bit transactional if you think about it.
Right. But Citta believes there's a whole other level of communication we can tap into. She calls it intuitive communication.
Ooh, that sounds deep. What's that all about?
Well, she actually believes this intuitive communication isn't limited to animals. She sees it as like a fundamental language of all living things. Have you ever walked into a room and just felt the energy?
Oh, totally. Like you can just tell if people are happy or tense even before anyone says anything?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's what she's talking about. She even says in her blog, we get along with animals beyond the barriers of language. In fact, intuitive communication is the language of all things.
Whoa, okay, that quote's gonna stay with me for a while.
Right. It really makes you think. Like maybe we're communicating all the time without even realizing it, just through vibes and energy.
It's like we're all connected on some level we don't even understand.
Exactly. And get this, Citta believes animals can actually teach us a lot about this intuitive communication stuff.
Oh, interesting. How so?
She thinks they're way more in tune with their feelings and instincts than we are. And by being around them, paying attention, we can start to tap back into those parts of ourselves that we've maybe, lost touch with.
That makes sense. Animals are definitely more in the moment. They don't get caught up in all the mental chatter we do.
Right. So how do we do that? How do we actually learn from them?
Well, Citta says it starts with being more present. Like, when you're with your pet, really be with them, Not just going through the motions.
I put the phone down, be in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Notice their body language, their little facial expressions, even how they're breathing.
So it's like becoming more aware of all those subtle cues they're giving off.
Yep. And you might be surprised by what you start to pick up on. You might actually start to sense when your dog's feeling anxious or when your cat just needs some space.
It's almost like learning to read their minds, but not in a creepy way.
Yeah. It's more like developing a deeper understanding of their needs and their emotions.
Okay, I'm feeling this. But Citta doesn't just talk about these ideas theoretically. She actually shares a really personal story about her own cat, Amiao.
Oh, is this where it gets real?
It does. Buckle up. So one night, Amiao suddenly becomes paralyzed.
Oh no, how awful.
I know, right? It turned out he had a blood clot, and the vets weren't even sure if he would make it.
Poor guy. And poor Citta.
It was devastating. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even though Amiao was in so much pain, Citta says he could sense how worried she was, and he actually tried to comfort her.
Wait, really? But he couldn't even move. How did he do that?
Citta describes how he would drag himself towards her and rub against her leg, even though it must have been excruciating for him.
Oh my gosh, that is heartbreaking, but also so beautiful.
Right. It's like he was trying to tell her everything would be all right.
That speaks volumes about their bond. So what did Citta do?
Well, she was determined to help him recover. She started researching everything she could about animal healing, and every single day she would just sit with him and tell him how much she loved him.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know. It's amazing how powerful those simple words of love can be.
So what happened? Did Amiao get better?
Well, we're gonna have to save that for part 2.
Come on. You can't leave us hanging like that.
Gotta keep you coming back for more. All right, spill the beans. What happened to Amiao? Did Citta's love and care work some kind of miracle?
Well, remember, she really believed that their bond, that deep connection, could actually help him heal.
Yeah, she was putting so much faith in that intuitive communication thing.
Exactly. And get this, after a month, Meow actually started to recover.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, he was able to jump and run again.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I had chills just then. But wait, he had a blood clot, right? So did he make a full recovery?
Well, he did still have a slight limp,
Oh.
but the fact that he could move at all after being completely paralyzed, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It really is. I mean, maybe it just took time for the vet care to work, but still, it's hard not to think that Citta's love and dedication played a part, you know?
I agree. Citta herself believes that Amiao's recovery was a testament to the power of their connection.
Wow. So she's saying that animals can understand our emotions, and that understanding can actually help them heal.
That's what she believes, yeah.
That's mind-blowing. What if we've been underestimating this whole intuitive connection thing all along?
Right. What if our emotions can actually impact the well-being of our animals?
It makes you think about how we care for our pets. Maybe it's not just about the right food and vet care, but also about creating a loving environment where they feel safe and understood.
Yeah, Citta's story really highlights the importance of being present with our animals, really tuning into their needs and feelings.
Picking up on those little cues, those unspoken messages they're sending us all the time.
And trusting our gut. We might know more than we think we do.
You know, this whole conversation's making me think about my own relationship with my dog. I always felt like we had this special bond, but I never really thought about it as intuitive communication before.
It's easy to write off those moments when we just seem to know what our pet needs or how they're feeling. But what if those are actually glimpses into that deeper level of connection?
Like those gut feelings are actually our intuition trying to tell us something.
Exactly. Citta's story encourages us to pay more attention to those intuitive nudges, not just with animals, but in our own lives too. It's about trusting that inner voice.
This reminds me of something Citta said in her blog. She wrote, "Mutual understanding does not mean speaking the same language, but sharing the same feelings."
That's beautiful. It really gets to the heart of what intuitive communication is all about.
It's not about deciphering some secret animal code, but about tapping into that universal language of emotions and empathy that connects us all.
It's like Citta saying this intuitive understanding is something we're all capable of.
We just have to quiet our minds, open our hearts, and really pay attention. So if we can learn to connect with our animals on this deeper level, what else might be possible? Could we develop this kind of intuitive communication with other people, with nature?
That's a pretty exciting thought. Citta's story definitely opens up a lot of possibilities. Makes you wonder if we've only just scratched the surface when it comes to communication and connection.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I'm seeing my relationship with my dog and with the world around me in a whole new light.
Citta's story is a powerful reminder that we're all connected in ways we may not even fully understand. And maybe, just maybe, the key to unlocking those connections lies within each of us.
I feel like there's so much more to unpack here. Do you have any other insights you'd like to share before we wrap up? It's amazing how Citta's story makes you rethink the whole idea of communication. You know, like, it's not just about words.
It really isn't. I mean, think about all those nonverbal cues we pick up on with people every day. A look, a sigh, the way someone's holding themselves.
Right. We're constantly reading those signals without even thinking about it. And with animals, it's like we have to rely on that even more.
Exactly. So where do we start? How do we get better at this whole intuitive communication thing?
Well, Citta says the first step is just being more mindful. Like, when you're with your pet, really pay attention to those moments when you feel like you just know what they're thinking or feeling.
Don't brush those off, right?
Yeah. Those could be those intuitive nudges she talks about.
So we should lean into those feelings, see where they lead us.
Exactly. It's like training ourselves to be more aware both of our own inner world and what our pets are trying to tell us.
But how do we actually, read those signals, especially with animals? They can't exactly tell us what's on their mind.
Well, Citta says a big part of it is paying attention to their body language. You know, are their ears perked up? Is their tail wagging? Those are all signals.
Right, and every animal's going to have their own unique little tells, I guess.
It's like learning a whole new language, but instead of words, it's a language of, like, postures and expressions and energy.
And just like learning any new language, it takes practice. The more you pay attention, the better you'll get at understanding your pet.
I love that. It's like we're always learning, always deepening that connection.
And that's what makes it so rewarding, right? It's not just about giving commands and getting obedience. It's about building a real relationship based on mutual understanding.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for the bond I have with my dog.
It's amazing what we can learn when we open ourselves up to these different ways of communicating. Citta's story is a powerful reminder that we're all connected, whether we realize it or not. And maybe, just maybe, The key to unlocking those connections lies within each of us.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us as we explored the fascinating world of intuitive communication.
And remember, keep paying attention to those subtle cues, those unspoken messages. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Until next time, keep those connections strong and keep diving deep.